What is up? What is up? What is up? It is TTC, aka the ThunderConductor, and we are back for another banging stream and live brewing session / live gameplay video. So once again, if you are on Twitch, make sure you're following. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, like, and make sure to turn the notifications on because we are posting every week and having a banger, amazing time doing it. And if you're on Twitch, remember that we stream twice a week on Saturday and Monday evenings, and I got some amazing stream coming up for you on this upcoming Monday, and I'm looking forward, so make sure you don't miss it. Before we get to our live deep dive on this mono red tech that I've been holding back on y'all, I just want to say, if you're loving the content and you're looking for another way to support, we got three major ways. First way, you just buy me a copy. Coffee, we got the keeps the lights on, keeps us doing what we do. The next, a great way is to join our ThunderConductor community, where you get access and deeper access to our Discord, where you can talk deep dive on music and Magic the Gathering, do some pickup games, and even probably maybe do some jam sessions if we're close enough to each other and have fun together. If you want to just join the Discord for the fun though, join. Link is in the bio. Let's just have fun together. And last way is with our ThunderConductor proxy line, where we do premium paperback proxies to increase access to this amazing format that we play, cEDH. But with that said, let's get right into it. As you all know, before I moved into my Marnius energy, I played with Rionya Fire Dancer, and everything that you all need to know is that this was my pet deck turned into main brew baby. That I fucking love it. I'm just not gonna lie, I loved it. When I first saw it, this is actually the origin story of the name ThunderConductor. I got it from the box Zephyr ThunderConductor. It was one of the alternate commanders, and I was like, dude, this thing looks broke and it has a crazy potential. So over the years I've been playing, I really grew akin to this, and now I want to share you all a deep dive, because there's so many people who really don't understand how this commander works and why I was even able to present a top 16 in August of Mox Masters with a mono red deck, you know. So I just want to go deep with you. If y'all don't mind, let's just go deep. Let's get in there and go deep. Starting off with the commander herself. Her name is Rionya Fire Dancer. And so what she reads is, at the beginning of combat at your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control, where X is 1+ the number of instant and sorcery spells you've cast this turn. They gain haste, and you exile them at the beginning of the next end step, okay? When I'm building my decks, I look at all the components of what the commander is doing, starting from the color itself. Red, explosive, you know what I'm saying? That fits my playstyle. I like to do big things very quickly. Like, if you give me a split second of a window, I'm going to take the use of it, and I'm going to just explode and do crazy shit. All right, so that I'll see the color. It costs 5, which is a little expensive, so we have to make sure, I'm thinking I gotta make sure my ramp and ritual package is up to be able to completely just get this out on turn 1, turn 2, because we want to build a turbo version of this deck. No stacks, because my original mindset when I was building this is the mono red stacks package is not bad, but it's not really my favorite thing. So I really wanted to make sure we can interact on the stack at instant speed with interaction and small counter magic, because we do have, we'll get into that, the Tabal's Trickery, Red Elemental Blast, Power Blast, but a lot of permanent base removal as well. So when I got all that, that's all the things that was going on in my mind. But let's get bigger. If we read this, the first line is, at the beginning of combat on your turn. Boom. That tells me that this is a combat focused deck. We can win outside combo if we want to. We can do all that. But at the end of the day, the commander wants to head in the direction of combat. So that's where I started to brew and build on this. The next thing is, it says create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control. Another and you control. So now I know, all right, I want to make copies. I need to run other creatures that have ETB or activated ability effects that are powerful enough to synergize with Rionya, and I want to make sure that the number of copies I make gets exponentially better. It's not like oh, it gets a little bit. No, I want it. If I make 1 copy, it gets better. If I make 2 copies, it gets crazy good, and so on and so forth. I don't want minor gains. I want big gains, because we're playing monocolor, and we have to keep up with the Kennons, with the Kenriths, with the Blue Farms, and we have to beat these powerhouse decks that have better cards and options than we do. So if I keep going, you say, okay, Well, how do I get more copies? Well, it leans on the Spellslinger side of the deck, which is a mono red Spellslinger deck, which is kind of a little different because that's more of an is it thing. But we want to basically cast instant and sorcery spells to chain together to create multiple copies. But we always know that we can make at least one copy, which allows us to do some nice infinite combos, and we'll get more into that. All right, they gain haste. Stop. They gained haste. Stop. One of the biggest things and one of my mistakes when I was brewing this for years, honestly, is I didn't realize the significance of this commander giving haste. Haste is an ability that we think about all the time, but we really don't realize how powerful immediately being able to attack, activate, or do whatever you want on that turn that the creature comes down. It just, any creature getting haste is broken. So what we want to do is we want to support this by having certain haste enablers in addition to Rionya, and kind of like not a huge package, but a small package that can really feed in on that haste enabler. So just remember, when we get to haste enablers, this is an important thing. All right. Last, they get exiled at the beginning of the next end step. This is a triggered ability. This is not like this. Once this ability resolves during combat, at the beginning of the next end step, there's a triggered ability that triggers at the beginning of that end step. And we also will be touching on that a little bit. So now that we've dissected the ability, we're going to go into our tags. And we're going to just go straight into our tags. And I want to go by section to really understand what we are doing with this deck and really understanding why each of the cards are here. And a lot of this is based off my personal play style. So if anything doesn't fit your play style, no, you're only one switch out away from getting closer to the Rionya brew for you. So let's keep going. Let's take a second and go, all right, additional combats. We have additional combat and turn spells, starting with Aggravated Assault. And we can actually make this just a wee bit bigger, you know. We can make this a little bit bigger, right? All right. So starting with Aggravated Assault, this is basically a combo piece with Dockside and Rionya Aggravated Assault, or Professional Facebreaker Rionya Aggravated Assault, and even a Sushi Blazing Sky Aggravated Assault and Rionya. And basically what it says is you could pay 5, untap all your creatures, and after this main phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase, and you only can activate this as a sorcery. So you can't, no, we'll get to Mind Goblin as one of the cards, or Blank Goblin, but you cannot combo with this with Mind Goblin, because Mind Goblin makes mana during combat, where this can only use mana that is created during the main phase, which is usually treasures. So this allows us to go infinite by, for example, if Dockside each combat is making 5 or more treasures, or Professional Facebreaker each combat is making 5 or more red treasures, or you're at Sushi the Blazing Sky is making 5 or more treasures, you can basically go infinite by creating the treasures, going to the next main phase, and along with the treasures making bodies, copies of whatever that creature is, and then you'll basically be able to go rinse, wash, and repeat. So go to the main phase, make another combat, and you go infinite, just an infinite. We have Final Fortune. This is our way to win at instant speed. Now you're saying, but TTC, you're not actually winning instant speed. Yes, I am. Because we're locked to only winning, my brew only can win during the combat step. That's a weakness. So there's a lot of times where I'll have the win in the hand, and being able to just pass turn knowing I have the win in hand, and I just want people to commit their mana down and really find the perfect window. I love holding up Final Fortune mana along with like an interaction spell to be able to do really spicy stuff. So this is our instant speed win card. Like, that's how you got to see this as. Fury of the Horde, this lets you untap all your creatures and that attack this turn and then have an additional combat phase. It being able to be cast for free with 2 by pitching 2 red cards is just goated and super easy to do in a mono red deck. Glorious End, this is my spice tech. This is my personal brew. I love being patient and being explosive. And a lot of times, because the play style of my brew is get Rionya down turn 1 or 2, that's the window you want to get it down, and then you want to have a win con, and you want to be able to present a win between turn 2 to 4, as early as turn 1, depending on what your opening hand is looking like. A lot of times you will be just sitting on a win con in your hand burning, and you just need a proper window. So where Glorious End comes in, not only is it synergistic by exiling Rillian's ability off the stack, say if you want to keep tokens and you're going to an extra turn, or you just want to keep extra blockers, not only is it synergistic where you can use this to exile the Final Fortune, Warrior's Oath, or Last Chance ability to make you lose the game. You, in responsibility, you can exile it and you'll get one more turn after this. It also is a great way, because it ends the turn, it exiles all spells and abilities on the stack. So it is basically a mono red. Think of it as like a Mind Break Trap for mono red that just costs 3 mana. And so it is not a, oh, just put it in the deck, it's super easy. No, it's a very hard card to use, and it's very skill intensive. There are times that I will just play it out knowing that I don't have the win con in my hand, but if Rionia's on board, I'm always one top deck away from doing it. But if I have to choose between 100% losing by one of my opponents, or Glorious Ending and probably maybe top decking something that can chain me into spells, or just top deck that one win con, I'd rather gamble on that. And this is a great spell where it's like, you know what, most times I got the win con, but even if I got to gamble, it's better, it's increased chances, the percentages to win, which is what we do in cEDH. All right. Next, the Last Chance of Warriors Oath. We'll do this together. They're basically sorcery speed Final Fortunes. Not my favorites, but they get the job done. When you had a big storm turn with Professional Facebreaker or with Caves of Chaos Adventure, we'll talk about these creatures. They basically allow you just to continue on, just to untap and really get another combat. This basically, you can see it as another combat, a way to give something haste. You know what I'm saying? It's just another instant sorcery to cast. If you cast it before combat, they're just really powerful spells that allow you just to be explosive if you have a window and you just want to capitalize on it. And our last extra turn effect is Seize the Day. I love this one because you can, one of my favorite lines is gambling for this spell. Say I have Professional Facebreaker down in Rionya, and I have like only 2 cards in hand, and 3 cards in hand. One is gamble, or even 2. Yeah, let's just say worst scenario. I top deck a gamble, and I have a card, a BS card, any card, and gamble. I could go and gamble for a Combat Celebrant to try to win, but the chances that I discard it are pretty high. It's 50%. But on the other end, if I have a Professional Facebreaker, the gamble will cause me to make 2 copies during my combat. If I've already untapped with it, now I have 3 Professional Facebreakers. And if I tutor for Seize the Day, what I can do is, if I have a lot of mana, I can just gamble for Seize the Day and then go, whether I cast it or whether I end up keeping it or not, I'm going to be able to have a castable spell. And so it's a win-win situation. So definitely a thing where it just allows me to have huge storm turns if I decide to go on that route. And Professional Facebreaker and also Caves of Chaos Adventure are my favorite things. I will cast this in the first main phase in order to increase the copy count, which is really important. You have to be cognizant. Sometimes you'll lose the untap effect on it, but you'll gain extra copies for each of those combats, because this one only untaps 1 creature, or this one will untap multiple creatures. So we do that. So you got now, okay, these are the synergistic or powerful effects that can combo. And yes, sir. What's up, EDH? Yes, Mono Red again. So these are those synergistic effects to help us do what we want to do. So we got the extra turn, we got the additional combats. We're good. Now let's talk about board, player, and spell protection recovery. This is a loose category, but understand that it's very important that you got to be able to do certain things. And after a lot of playing, I'm pretty much settled on how I want to, my interaction package. But always remember, we interact differently, so make sure you find the interaction pieces for you. This is all about protecting my board, my player, myself, or my own spells. So starting off, we got Cavern of Souls, makes your creatures uncountable. It's great for stopping your opponents who don't go for a win, Rionya. Okay, I'm gonna go for a win because you can't counter it. Command Beacon, this allows us to put our commander straight to our hand. Sometimes we don't want to remove the Dranith. We just want to put our commander to the hand, play it, and then continue to move on. Removing Draniths can a lot of times enable our opponents to go for a win. We got Deflecting Swat, counter spell, protection spell is just fucking everything. I love Deflecting Swat as the interaction piece in red. Homeward Path, this is a recovery spell. Our commander gets Gilded Draped. Please understand, if you play Rionya, every other deck, your commander is better in every other deck. The Rionya is a cracked 99 card. It's fucking cracked. And if you think that people are not going to be able to Drake your commander to slow you down and uptick their win percentage, they're going to. So having Homeward Path to say, hey, look, you can take my Rionya, but I'm just going to take it back before you go to combat. Literally, I will hold Homeward Path up before I move into combat. And just being able to communicate that is just nice and simple, bro. We got EDH saying we just finished the Twister tournament. Let me know how it is. Drop it down in the chat how it went. Let me know, bro. And so Homeward Path, just understand this is a great interaction piece, but also a way just to understand that decks are just cracked with Rionya in it. Being able to, I've had a deck make 6 Tivits off cloning my Rionya. It was fucking cracked. We're just not going to talk about it. Next we have Hammer Design. This is part of the Godo combo in our deck, but also remember that Hammer Design has Indestructible and gives the attached creature +2/+. So I've actually had a time where someone casted a wheel and into an Orcish Bowmaster and it wiped all the creatures, but because I had my Hammer Design just attached to my commander, it couldn't kill my commander. So it was really cool to be able to like just know that I didn't have to respend the 5 mana or at that point 7 mana necessary to recast my commander. Manifold Key, the protection point of this is this basically makes it untaps an artifact, which is good, but it also has a way to basically say target creature can't be blocked. And we have a Port Razor combo that needs to land, and Port Razor and also our Bloodthirster. So if you're not able to hit your opponent, this not only allows you to have the synergy of untapping your mana rocks like the One Ring, Mana Vault, Grim Monolith, or even Pyre of Heroes, but it also allows you to really make sure you clock down and hit that opponent. We also got Pyro Blast and Red Elemental Blast. We got Sundial. I don't think I need to explain these. If you play cEDH, you have to play these. It's just part of the package. Blue is dominating our format. We have the Sundial of the Infinite. This basically is a protection for during our turn if our opponents are attempting to do crazy stuff during our turn, like instant speed win or something. We can activate Sundial the Infinite in the turn and basically just shut the entire turn down. We have the One Ring. The protection we get from the One Ring on cast can and does actually protect us a lot, like if we're low on life, or even we just want to like stop certain combos that can't win through the One Ring, and lasts similar to Power Blast and Red Elemental Blast. It's the boss trickery. Another counter spell. I know it's a downside. They get a cast for free. Sometimes you got to just call it a day. But the cool thing is, because of how this synergizes with both Drannith and Rule of Law effects, it basically is where like, okay, we love seeing those stacks pieces out because it doesn't stop our win cons. Plus, I'm gonna be honest, like them not being able to cast that spell is pretty dope. We got EDH Senpai saying very good games today, super long day. Oh man. How did you place? He said myself and Bean made top 60. Nice. I ended 13th. I think Bean was 5th or 6th. Oh, almost top 4. And we got EDH Senpai saying no Godo ? Almost there. We're gonna get there. Yes, you have peeped the mastery. Yes. We do have Godo line, but stay tuned. We have card draw and card advantage here. Not a huge package. We could be running other things, but I'm gonna just tell you now, don't look for a Wheel of Fortune. You're not gonna see a Wheel of Fortune. You're not gonna see a Wheel of Misfortune. I'm not a huge fan of wheels when you don't play blue to have counter magic to back up the fact that you just gave your opponents 21 cards, or if you don't have a silence effect like a Grand Abolisher or whatever the fuck not, to be able to navigate the fact that you just gave your opponents 21 cards. So in mono red, that's just not my play style. For card advantage, we have Caves of Chaos Adventurer, which its abilities that you get going through the dungeon actually give you card advantage, which is really good. Not to mention when it attacks, it lets you exile the top card and play it this turn. And if you finish the dungeon, you get to play the card for free, which is a lot more busted than you fucking think. It's fucking crazy. We got Charming Scoundrel, discard a card to draw a card. Looting is not my favorite, especially when you have to lead with discarding the card. You don't get to draw first, but it's really good. At the end of the day, if we go turn 1 Charming Scoundrel, turn 2 Rionya, we can basically at that point guarantee if we don't need any more treasures, or we don't want to pump our Rionya or the Charming Scoundrel with the Wicked roll, we can basically be like, okay, at least I can start to get rid of some of the less optimal cards out of my hand and get into the more juicy stuff. Keep it moving. Expedite, Cantrip, gives a haste, another Haste Enabler. Humble Defector, one of the busted card draw effects where we basically you just read it. You draw 2 cards and target opponent gains control of home defector. But if we give them the copies, they exile at the beginning of the end step and they're tapped. So they can only activate during their turn. So they'll never get the opportunity to get the card. So Jessica's Will, Ritual, and card advantage, especially if you have a commander. I love this card. March of Reckless Joy. My reason I run this, and I'm gonna be honest, I love this because you can pitch BS red cards in your hand. This can even be a turn 1 play, like where you go land and you have a bunch of BS cards and March of Reckless Joy. You can get Rionya down on turn 2, but you need a second land drop. I can go, okay, land, pass during the end step, march for X equals 4 by pitching 2 BS red cards that I don't need anymore. That's how I found my land drop. Very common play pattern. I love this. I love the March whole package. We got Professional Facebreaker, card advantage by sacking treasures. We make so many treasures in this deck, from Ragavan, from Dockside, from Professional Facebreaker itself. And sometimes because we don't really combo with those cards like everybody else, just sitting on extra treasures, being able to turn those into card advantage is just broken. Ragavan is card advantage because we get to sometimes steal tutors and other things off our opponent's deck, and I really love that, being able to dash it in after they fucking just tutor for some shit. Fucking love it. I haven't got to resolve a Ristic study off a Ragavan yet, but I've hit a couple Ristic studies, and one day I'm gonna resolve a Ristic study off a Ragavan. Starstorm, it's a board wipe, but key thing is you can cycle this to draw a card. Mono red, you gotta do what you gotta do. We have the One Ring, the best draw engine in my opinion in the entire format, and especially in this deck. Even better than the Professional Facebreaker. Getting this down turn 1 or 2 nearly guarantees our win unless our opponents can outdo us in card draw. We got Valakut Awakening, instant speed. It is a land drop. Tap land on the back. On the front, we can pay 3 and basically say, okay, I can put a number of cards from my hand at the bottom of my library. This is not only a way to draw cards, but also put combo pieces back in our deck. So if we draw our Helm of the Host or our Hammer and Design, we just tuck that back into our deck and get to see 3 new cards because it replaces itself plus additional cards. And then we have Ziora's Justice. It is a new removal spell that I removed a braid for. I know a braid's a staple. I know it's a staple, but even better than that, understand that this is card advantage. If you read it, it says the owner of target artifact or creature with mana value 1 or greater shuffles it into their library. Then the player discovers X, which is basically Cascade, where X is the mana value. So say if we're really down bad and or if we have excess removal, we can use the Yoa's Justice on one of our copy tokens, because our copy tokens are not having a mana value 0. They have the mana value of the creature that they copied. So we say if we have a 4-drop or a 3-drop or a 2-drop, we can basically cascade our own spell into an extra card, and it's random, but when you're in red, this little bit of card advantage can be the difference between a win or lose. We have EDH Senpai saying, did you look into Spiteful Banditry? Let's pull that up. Spiteful Banditry. Borderless, yeah. We have this. I'm just going to put a Scryfall because I want them to. Oh my gosh, I just need this to be a little bigger. Okay, so Spiteful Banditry. Oh, so this is the enchantment version of this. When Spiteful Banditry enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each creature. So it does the exact same thing. And whenever one or more creatures your opponents control die, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once per turn. I did look into it, and I actually wanted to make the switch. The biggest reason that I decided not to is because Starstorm being an instant spell was better to me. I love instant speed. For me, my rule is instant speed is king. And 2, being able to cycle this to be able to draw 1 card in an emergency situation where I just need to see 1 deep. We're about to fucking lose the game. Let's see if I can get a removal spell. It's just more flexible for me. The treasures gained off of it, I feel like is goated in Magda, but in this deck where we don't want to completely ever tap out because we're playing more instant speed interaction. That's a decision I made. But good question. Yeah, the treasures are nice because they're nice. I will say this: the cap on 1 treasure per turn is kind of blew me, but I think Magda really can use this because a lot of times Magda only needs 1 more fucking treasure. You know what I'm saying? Like just 1 more. You know what I'm saying? And so if Magda can get that 1 more treasure, well, granted, you probably don't want to kill your own Magda, but I mean, fuck it, maybe you do. I don't know. If it got bounced in hand, Magda could really use that. Yeah. It's close. It is close. I'm not gonna cap. But to finish off with Ziora's Justice, that is the gist of it. It's not hard card advantage, but you have to get creative. We're in mono red. Let's see. Now we're gonna move into some Goblin Engineer recursion targets. Goblin Engineer, if we can just cut to that real quick. Goblin Engineer is basically one of our best tutors in the deck. It basically says when it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for an artifact card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Okay. So we tutor artifact to the graveyard. It has to be mana value, but it can be any artifact. But if we pay a red and tap it, we can sack an artifact, any artifact on our board, and return target artifact card with converted mana cost 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. So let's talk about some of the recursion targets, and then afterwards I'll let you know the best ones. So of course we can hit Arcane Signet, Chrome Mox. Cursed Mirror is a great one because not only can this be used to copy creatures on our board, but also our opponent's board. That basically says is like I can reanimate Cursed Mirror and just copy a Grand Abolisher, and unless my opponents see it, too late, because by the time it enters the battlefield, this is not an ETB, it enters as. So it just immediately, it locks off the board. I can even use this to copy creatures. Say if I have a Port Raise route, but I need a couple more copies in order to break through, it is a Haste Enabler, so it can allow me to break through it. And not to mention, Cursed Mirror also works with the Godo combo, where I can go Godo, get Hammer Design, Cursed Mirror, get Helm of the Host. And so a lot of layers to it. We can get Fowar Stone, Yippee Doo, Grim Monolith, J-Lo. Great if I can get out early, and I just need to cheat out some more mana. We got Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault. We've already talked about Mana Folky, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Pyre of Heroes, another goated target. This is we're gonna talk more about this soon, but this is by far one of the it is a great combo piece and value piece. It just does everything that our deck needs to do, since we don't have a card advantage piece or tutor in our or anything anything significant outside of comboing and value. And so this enables us to more combo and value more than we want. We can get Ruby Medallion, we want Soul Ring, and we have Sundial the Infinite. Surprisingly, one of my favorite things to do is, say if I have an extra turn spell in my hand, or if I suspect that there's going to be some in-turn ad nauseum shenanigans, I'll tutor Sundial to the graveyard, go to combat, make a copy, put Sundial into the battlefield. It is a protective way for me to either stay alive, like have a backup plan in case I get stopped during the extra turn, or if I've cast Glorious End, it's a way for me to make sure I don't die. But on the flip side, it also lets me to what is it called? It also just allows me to kind of interact with my opponents as well, but it's mostly just used to protect myself. So I will say, if you're playing this deck, the main tutor recursion tutor target is going to be Sundial, Pyre of Heroes, Cursed Mirror, and sometimes Mana Vault or Manifold Key. Like if you have a one ring, getting Manifold Key is cool, but it's just case by case dependent. Just something to think about. But those are my top 3 tutor targets all the time: Sundial the Infinite, Pyre of the Heroes, and Cursed Mirror. Biggest thing is if you have an extra turn effect in your hand and you don't know if it's a clean win, but you don't want to completely fucking punt the win, this is a great synergistic piece with Rionya, so you can keep the tokens on your board, but also it's by exiling Rionya's triggered ability at the end step, but also it's the epitome, okay, all right guys, you stopped me, let me make sure I don't fucking lose. You know what I'm saying? Fight to live another day. So we're going to keep moving towards our recursion targets. Right now we have our Goblin Matron tutor targets. Goblin Matron, if you're not familiar, Goblin Matron basically is just a go to tutor target. We have a whole Goblin Matron tutor line that I created for the Rionya community, and I love it. It's a 1 to 2 turn line depending on what we have in hand. And it basically says when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a Goblin card, reveal that card and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So basically we have here Dockside. Do I need to say anything else? We got Goblin Creator Maker. It is a creature that we can sacrifice the Pyre of Heroes to get Combat Celebrant, but it's also a removal spell for non-land permanents that are colorless, not artifacts, non-land permanents. So this can take out Emrakul's. This can take out this can take out artifacts, but it can also take out keep stacks pieces of any size. And this, what is it? I'm thinking about what is that creature? That's 5 mana, and you can copy instants and sorceries your opponents cast unless they pay 2. Oh my gosh, it's like it has an A in the name or something. Oh my gosh, I'm having a moment right now, y'all. You know what it's like? It's on the tippy tip of your tongue. What is it called? It's on the tippity tip of my tongue. I really cannot remember it. There we go. Wandering Archaic. Yes, it can get rid of Wandering Archaic. It's really a great removal spell. Like when you're in a pinch, and you can make copies of this. It's very synergistic with Rionya, where you can make copies of this and just completely like blow up Proxy if you want to go that route. Most times I'm using this to sacrifice a guild, get a combat celebrant, but you can also do it for that. Depends on the board state. You could just malleable. And you can also do 2 damage to target creature. This is great. I'm going to kill your Timna. I'm going to kill your opposition agent. I'm going to just kill whatever the fuck I want to kill. So try me. Next, we got Goblin Engineer. We've already talked about that. We have my Spice Tech, which I love consistency in my decks. So I actually took a Lightning Bolt out of my deck to add Tarfire. It basically is a shock that's a tribal instant. So I can put a Goblin card into my hand, and it basically deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So basically just shock. And because of the original Rada, it also hit Planeswalkers as well. If you look here, it does 2 damage to any target. So we can hit Planeswalkers as well. You will be actually surprised though. 2 damage a lot of times you would think, but you can't hit Drenith. I know, you'd be surprised. I've actually killed somebody. Like I had a win where I was player 4. We had Obnixilis I was player 3, Obnixilis player 2. We had new Narset, Path to Exile or something was player 1, and then player 4 was some meta deck. And basically what I did is I attacked and got Obnixilis down to 2. Tutor, Tarfire to my hand, and I had a red Elemental Blast and a Wind Con in my hand. So when player 4 was pretty much locked out because he couldn't do anything, during the end step, I killed player 1's Narset with the red Elemental Blast just to shut him down from doing any sneaky stuff during my turn. And then during the next Narset's end step, I ended up killing Omnixilis with 2 to the face. And so it was like the epitome of like no. Next is actually a new inclusion. I was originally running Crimson Wisp and Expedite, but I'm just running Expedite right now. The idea for Torch Courier is it is another haste enabler that I can tutor with both Imperial Recruiter and Goblin Matron. Excuse me. Y'all ever just thirsty? And you just gotta drink some water? Because your throat gets dry because you're talking too much. As we move forward, I love Tarfire, but Torch Courier is a new addition. I've actually had a game where I needed a way to haste enabler, and I already used my Cursed Mirror a turn earlier. I needed a way to, I cast my Glorious End, and I had a lot of treasures previous turn from like multiple dock sides, but I had all the mana. I just needed a haste enabler, and basically I wanted to go Goblin in. I had a way to copy my Imperial Recruiter, but I didn't have a way to make an additional combat or anything to get the Goblin Engineer and then make a copy of the Goblin Engineer to get Sundial at Infinite. So what I'm trying is by having a haste enabler that I can tutor to hand with either Imperial Recruiter or Goblin Matron. I can go Goblin Engineer, Torch Courier, and then just haste enable. And it's also synergistic with a couple of my other win cons as well. So we're trying it out. I hate losing a draw like a cantrip, but I think this synergy piece is actually pretty powerful and has a lot of potential. We have Twin Shot Sniper. I've cast this as a creature so few times. This is just a goated channel is key. I took out Fury. I've talked to the Rionya community about this. I personally took out Fury because instant speed is king. Say it with me. Instant speed is king. Instant speed is king, okay? Being able to channel this and kill a Grand Abolisher, being able to channel this and kill a Timnus, being able to channel this and kill a Wincon, being able to channel this and just pop somebody in the face when they went too low, close to the sun with their ad nauseum, is an uncounterable effect. And unless they have Trick Bind or some other stifle effect, they will die. Their creature will die. And I know, once again, it's only 2 damage. You would be surprised how often 2 damage just gets the job done. So fucking love this. Not to mention, if you want to, it is a reach creature, so we can have another blocker for fires. But the main thing is you can make, if you hard cast it, you can make copies of it with Rionya and just start picking things off like you have another Goblin Crater Maker. And the last goblin in our deck is Blank Goblin or Mind Goblin, or the goblin that makes red mana depending on your sticker sheets. Now, if you want a full breakdown of sticker sheets and how to play them in this deck and how they really work, if you check my primer, I go into a lot of the rulings. It's a pre-game action, so you actually do this before you do mulligans, and it actually is there to help you because you know now how much red mana you are possible to create. And basically it allows you to go, okay, I know how much red mana I'm gonna make, so me mulliganing, how do I say this? Me like mulliganing and seeing the Goblin Matron. If I'm gonna make 6 mana, then it's great, because if I go land, mana crypt, Mind Goblin, I got a turn 1 Rionya set up for a turn 2 win, maybe some other crazy stuff. But if I know only making 1 mana and I have land, mana crypt, and a Mind Goblin and no other lands, then I may not want to keep the hand. So it's all dependent. Another cool thing, synergistic thing about this is because you get multiple sticker sheets and you have 9 possible red mana values that you can make, you can always remember that after you cast the Rionya with the red mana created by Mind Goblin, you can go to combat and go, all right, I'm going to make a copy of Mind Goblin and I'm going to have another ETB. And so you can use, because we're instant speed is king. Because we have so many instant speed spells, we can cast our Valakut Awakening, our Twin Shot Sniper, our Tar Fire. We can cast whatever we want, and so we can go basically use interaction during our combat, and then hold up more interaction for another interaction spell at true instant speed. So I love that interaction and that synergy with Rionya. Just a great ramp spell. Next we have our Haste Enablers. We have Curse Mirror, copy a creature, make haste. We have Expedite, draw a card, give haste. Final Fortune, Last Chance, and Warrior's Oath is actually a haste enabler if you realize that if you play the creature on the first turn, go to the extra turn, and then untap and move, it is a way to get around haste. The reason haste enablers are important, and especially with the extra turn effects being haste enablers, is because right now it is very popular to have blind obedience and other effects that make creatures and or artifacts enter tapped. So being able to go, okay, I'm going to cast my combat celebrant. Well, it doesn't matter because you're going to go to combat and then it's going to make a bunch of tap copies. Don't worry, hold my drink. Cast your Final Fortune, go to the extra turn, and everybody like, oh shit, because of how combat celebrant is red, I untap it for turn, and then the copies I make will come in tapped, but when Combat Celebrant attacks, it untaps all creatures. So it'll untap the copy you just created and itself, and it'll allow you to go infinite. Well, no, all. I think it's all other, either all or all other, either or. It will untap the copy and then allow you to go infinite like that. You know what I'm saying? So it is important to have haste enablers like this because and ways to just navigate this meta right now, which is heavy mid range and blind obedience. So very powerful effects. Just be cognizant. Haste is part of our commander, also like our ability, and it's something really to ignore how powerful it is. So don't ever forget it. It's really powerful. We next go to our Imperial Recruiter tutor targets. Very powerful. I love Imperial Recruiter. When I see it in my opening hand, the only thing that I don't like that hurts about it is that it's not a May ability. So if we get Oppo Agent, then we can't not choose the tutor where Goblin Matron on the other end is a May ability, but seldomly we like the Oppo is it's already out, so we usually get around it. It's not too bad. Plus we have enough removal spells. Oppo Agent only having 2 toughness, Tar Fire, Twin Shot. All right, so now we everything from Charming Scoundrel, tutor target for Combat Celebrant if we sack it to Power of Heroes. But it also is we'll get more deep into that, but we also got Direfully Daredevil, another tutor target for Combat Celebrant, Dockside Extortionist, a tutor ramp and tutor target for Goblin Matron, Ember Shieldbreaker, a removal spell at sorcery speed. I know instant speed is king, but this being a removal spell for artifacts allows us to hit one of my favorite targets is Wishclaw Talisman, because they can't use it during our turn. So I just love popping Wishclaw Talisman, or if I'm playing against Kennen and their rocks, they're already kind of developed with rocks, or Tivit and they're already developed with rocks. This is just really great. It's like, let's just get rid of those rocks. We got Goblin Crater Maker, we've already talked about this. Goblin Engineer and Goblin Matron, we've already talked about this. I don't know why you would ever Imperial Recruiter for Goblin Matron, but if you ever think of a reason, drop it down below. We got Harmonic Prodigy, a great synergistic piece with our commander being a wizard. But this is also another way to tutor combat cells to the battlefield using our Power of Heroes. The Humble Defector, we've talked about the card draw, but it's another way to tutor combat sellers to the battlefield with Power of Heroes. We have Lightning Runner. We actually have a whole Imperial Recruiter line that we'll talk a little bit about later. But Lightning Runner is our only combo piece that we can just tutor straight to our hand. All of our other combo pieces are from Combat Celebrant to Bloodthirster to Port Raiser, have 2 high of power and toughness, but this being that 2 power and toughness, we can basically use Imperial Recruiter, and if we have enough mana, we can go Imperial Recruiter, find Lightning Runner, and if we have 2 more instants and sorceries in hand, or if we already ritualed into it, we can just basically, if we make 3 copies of Lightning Runner plus the original Lightning Runner that has haste and double strike, we can go infinite right there. So we can also get Professional Facebreaker. We've already talked about Treasure Maker combo piece plus card advantage. We can find a Ragavan. Never really looked for this, but I do like finding Ragavan if I want to sack Ragavan to either find a Dockside because it is a pirate, or to ever find our Direfleet Daredevil if we want to go Ragavan, Direfleet Daredevil, Combat Celebrant, or go Ragavan, Dockside into Matron or some other stuff like that. We have Simian Spirit Guide. I do like this. Say if I'm like I made 2 or 3 copies of Simian's of, for example, an Imperial Recruiter. I have 1 land open, so I'll get like a Twin Shot Sniper or Simian Spirit Guide, and I'll have 1 land open, and I have 1 other tutor for some other BS. So it allows me basically to say, okay, I have a removal spell that I've now enabled by being able to find Simian Spirit Guide. We have our new inclusion playtest card, Torch Courier. We have Treasonous Ogre. Goated card we'll talk more about later, but I've actually had multiple turn 1 wins, but my last turn 1 win was being able to go land Mana Crypt. I was going second. I went land Mana Crypt, Jessica's Will, made 7 mana, went Imperial Recruiter into Treasonous Ogre, casted Rionya, and then I went into my Imperial Recruiter line, which actually I can go ahead and talk about this right now, my Imperial Recruiter line. How the Imperial Recruiter line, it's the Imperial Recruiter / Goblin Matron line. There's 2 Imperial Recruiter lines, but there's the main line that we use to win across 2 turns. And before I forget, we've already talked about Twin Shot Sniper and Goblin. We already talked about my Goblin. So with that being said, how's the Imperial Recruiter line work? So follow me. Okay, this works with Goblin Matron and Imperial Recruiter. What you do is, and actually I can just bring it up in the primer, can I? Yeah, we can bring it up in the primer. Let's get it. Because we're such a studious pilot. What we do is we have, yes. So it's the Goblin Matron Imperial Recruiter. It's a lot of text. Follow me. It's quick, inchy. So what you want to do is with Rionya board, you are able to set up a next turn win using Goblin Matron or Imperial Recruiter. You need Rionya Fire Dancer on the battlefield, Goblin Matron or Imperial Recruiter in hand. And I'm just going to start saying Goblin Matron, but you just know it says Imperial Recruiter as well. 1 instant and sorcery in hand, and 3 and 2 red mana. On the setup turn, plus your opponents need to have a minimum of 3 artifacts and or enchantments on the battlefield, and 3 colorless and 2 red on the winning turn. So first thing, you want to cast Goblin Matron, okay? Tutor Dockside to your hand, and next cast Dockside, netting 3 plus the number of treasures needed to cast 1 instant or sorcery spell in the first main phase, okay? You're going to cast that instant or sorcery spell and then go to combat. Then you're going to target Goblin Matron with Rionya's ability, not the Dockside, the Goblin Matron. And you're going to make 2 copies of Goblin Matron. And you're going to then tutor Goblin Crater Maker or another 2-drop Goblin Warrior, and then Goblin Engineer to hand. In your second main phase, you want to cast Goblin Engineer and tutor Power of Heroes to your graveyard. Finally, go to your next turn, cast Goblin Crater Maker or another 2-drop Goblin Warrior, activate Goblin Engineer's ability, paying 1 red and sacrificing the first treasure, the final treasure created by Dockside, targeting Pyre of Heroes. Next, sacrifice Goblin Crater Maker. We a lot of steps, we're almost there. Sacrifice Goblin Crater Maker or another 2-drop Warrior to Pyre of Heroes for 2 colorless mana to tutor and put Combat Celebrant onto the battlefield, and then you will go to combat, targeting Combat Celebrant where Rionya Fire Dancer's ability. This will allow you to create infinite combat copies of Combat Celebrant for infinite combat steps and infinite combat damage, and you win the game. big thing about this is there are many variations to this 2-turn line, but it's all made possible with Goblin engineering, not having summoning sickness on the turn you go for a win. This can be done through Expedite, Crimson Wisp, or Twin Flame or Heat Shimmer. I don't run Heat Shimmer and Twin Flame right now, but if you do, those are another more haste enablers. And note, this line can be expedited to be done in 1 turn cycle by using one of the many extra turn spells in this deck. Also, this is supercharged by having Ruby Medallion on the battlefield. Lastly, this line can be done using Imperial Recruiter due to all the combo pieces turning out of the deck having a power or toughness of 2 or less. Good. So I know that's a lot, but don't worry. This full primer is, if you look up Rionya cEDH or my ThunderConductor Moxfield, all of this information is available to you. The cool thing about this line, though, is that whether you want to do it over 1 turn or 2, you will basically be able to leverage Dockside Extortionist for the short burst of mana to make all this happen, and you can use Goblin Engineer, one of the Godo tutors in this deck, to create a tutor line. And I go back to my example for my winning turn. What I did is I went, okay, land, Mana Crypt, Jessica's Will, Imperial Recruiter into Treasonous Ogre, which I use as my Goblin Matron, quote unquote. What I did next is I casted 1 instant sorcery, which at that point I already cast Jessica's Will. I went to combat and I tutored Goblin Engineer and Goblin Creator Maker to my hand. Went to my second main phase, casted the Goblin Engineer with using the mana from Treasonous Ogre, and then I casted an extra turn effect. Still in my first turn. Went to my final turn, quote unquote, with Goblin Engineer on board, and I could copy it if for some reason I was stopped with Rionya. But what I did is I kept going for the win, and I decided to go, all right, after this, the Goblin Engineer found Power of Heroes last turn, so I sacked the Mana Crypt to Goblin Engineer, tapping it and paying a red, putting the Power of Heroes to the battlefield, and then I casted the Goblin Creator Maker to the battlefield and then sacked it using 2 more mana, all the mana being provided by the amazing Treasonous Ogre, finding Combat Celebrant to the battlefield, going for the win, and it was just a clean, nice turn 1 win. All made possible by huge bursts of mana either through Dockside or Treasonous Ogre, and having multiple tutors using our Commander and Imperial Recruiter or Goblin Matron. Imperial Recruiter being superior because we can actually find Treasonous Ogre and cast it using the Jessica's Will mana, because we had 2 players who still had 7 cards in hand. Let's keep going. We're getting deep, but I first of all want to say thank you all so much for being with me thus far. We're getting so close to being finished with this supercharged deep dive deck tip on Rionya Fire Dancer. In my opinion, the greatest red deck ever created on the whole planet. Only thing that would be better is if they reprinted it in like a different Rionya stuff next time we go to Strixhaven or something. But with that said, if you're looking for ways to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, link in the bio. It's as little as $5, just keeps the likes going. You can also buy our ThunderConductor premium paperback proxies, allows us to increase access to this amazing format that we play called cEDH. And very lastly, we have a Discord community that's open. You just come in, conversate with me. Let's have a good time. Talk about our Marnias, talk about our Rionya, talk about all the fun things about Magic. But if you want to get exclusive access, join our Patreon to get exclusive access to our Discord community, where you can talk deeper and have pickup games with me with Magic the Gathering. And we also talk music. I'm a professional musician, so let's get it. Let's do it. Back to the deep dive. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Twitch, follow. Back to it. We'll talk about our land base. Pretty standard. We are 27 lands. Ancient Tomb, Barbarian Ring. This is removal. We'll talk more about that. Cavern of Souls, City of Traders, Command Beacon, Crystal Vein, Gemstone Caverns, Homeward Path, Inventor's Fair, Goated Tutor Effect. Monocolor, we gotta get it where we can. Sandstone Needle, Shattered Skull Smashing, 13 snow-covered mountains. We do snow-covered because I just like snow-covered. Spikefield Hazard, tap land, but also a removal spell and an instant or sorcery to be able to increase our Rionya count. We have Urza Saga, which is a goaded ramp spell. Sometimes we can basically use this to get our Rionya out on turn 3 very consistently with finding a J-Lo or a plethora of other things. And we also have Valakut Awakening. We do have 3 tap lands in this current deck currently, with Spikefield Hazard, Valakut Awakening, and Sandstone Needle, but they're very easy turn 1 plays. We have enough ramp to still go from a tap land on turn 1 into a turn 2 Rionya. And so we have 1 life gain spell as well. Treasonous Ogre and the One Ring are our heaviest life lossers, but the life gain from the Inventor's Fair is fine. And usually we don't get hit much because we're not really doing anything much most of the games. When we talk about our notable Inventor's Fair tutor targets, we can get any artifact out of our deck. If you're not familiar with Inventor's Fair, it basically says pay 4, sacrifice Inventor's Fair, and you search your library for any artifact card, reveal it, and then put it into your hand. Then you shuffle your library, activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. And we have a lot of artifacts, trust me. With that being said, the notable tutor targets is Curse Mirror to be able to clone things, Manifold Key to be able to untap other artifacts, Pyre of Heroes to be able to find a combo piece, Sundial the Infinite to not die to extra turn effects, the One Ring for card draw, and Twin Shot Sniper for that instant speed. Oh, you're about to win. I'm gonna tutor with my land and go put a removal spell to kill your Grand Abolisher at instant speed and let you overcommit to mana as well. Ramp. We have Ancient Tomb, Arcane Signet, Charming Scoundrel, being able to HETB, make a treasure, and we can copy this Rionya. So good, love it. Chrome Mox. We got City of Tea, Crystal Vein, Cursed Mirror, being a ramp piece that can basically copy other things while still being a mana rock itself. Desperate Ritual, being that ritual spell that goes along with Pyretic Ritual, which we'll talk a little bit about in a second. We have Dockside, we have Felwar Stone, Gemstone Caverns, being that early, I got an extra mana, so I start turn 1 on 2 with 2 mana. If I'm not going first, I love it. Grim Monolith, Jessica's Will, ramp, great ramp spell. Jewel Lotus, Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Manifold Key, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal. We are not running Mox Amber because our legendary creatures are only Ragavan and Rionya, and we need our ramp to get Rionya out. So we opened up a slot by removing that Mox Amber. Next, we have Professional Facebreaker. Great ramp spell. Honestly, if we have a land, Mana Crypt, Professional Facebreaker. If we have another land in our hand, we can go to combat on turn 2 and get Rionya out on turn 2, and that's the goal with this deck. We have Pyretic Ritual. We brought up Ragavan. Great turn 2 ramp if we're able to get a hit off. And if it stays around, just going to keep ramping us both with mana, with the treasure off the hit, and the card advantage off the revealed. Rite of Flame. Love this slept on spell. We have Root Medallion. That's just a across the board discounter. We have Sandstone Needle. I count this as a ramp spell because even though it comes in the battle for taps, it gives us 2 turns of double red pips, which is just really great if you play this right. We have Seething Song, Simian Spirit Guide, Soul Ring, Striker Rich, Slept on ramp piece because it basically allows us to go mountain into it. A Striker Rich and pass turn, untapping with now 2 mana, and if we have a third land, we can go Seething Song or Jessica's Will to be able to cast our commander on turn 2. We have Treasonous Ogre, the best ramp spell in this entire deck. We have Urza Saga, which once it gets that 3rd chapter, allowing us to find any of these 1 or 0 drop artifacts that are really powerful to keep us ramped up forward. And lastly, we have, as we brought up, Mind Goblin, Sticker Goblin, or the Blank Goblin, whichever you prefer to call it. For our removal and interaction suite, here's where this is where I'm different. I really promote interaction, namely instant speed, but the red package is super huge. Right now we have 21 removal and interaction pieces in our deck, and at that point that puts us at over 20% of our deck. Over 20% of our deck is interaction pieces. But the beautiful thing is a lot of these interaction pieces also allows us to layer on and also be combo pieces. So starting with the Barbarian Ring, land base, if we have Threshold, which basically is 7 or more cards in our graveyard, we can pay a red, tap it, and do 2 damage to any target creature or player. This is to kill off a player who's getting a little greedy on that ad nauseum, or kill that pesky Grand Abolisher because it doesn't turn off land abilities. We have Chaos Warp, mono red staple in my opinion. Being able to get one of those 1 rings is crucial. Let's get rid of them with on one counter. Let's stop it completely. We do not want people to have more card advantage to us. We want them to play at our level. Also getting rid of pesky stacks pieces that may not be able to be easily interacted with. I have had times where you do hit something worse, but it actually surprisingly happens very seldomly because this hits it. If it's not a permanent card and it's just a spell, now you actually have information for the next turn. Deflecting Swat, come on out. We're playing cEDH. It's a great card. Direfleet Daredevil is our only piece of graveyard hate, but it's really great because it is basically being able to remove instants and sorceries from your graveyard and cast them. So it allows us to we can use it as a tutor, basically, as a card draw piece, but even more, if they put that brain feast in that graveyard just a little bit too early, or they put those combo pieces or that Savine's Reclamation in that graveyard a little bit too early, snipe! Take it out right then and there and just keep it nice and simple. We have Ember Shield Breakers, Battle Display, Sorcery, Adventure Speed. We have Glorious End. We've talked about the multiple applications about that. We have Goblin Crater Maker. We have Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast. We have Pyrokinesis. I love this spell because you are able to pitch a red spell to it to do 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. This gets rid of a turn 1 Crom. I've actually done this and won the game because he fully took his hand going player 1 as a turn 1 Crom, and I led off by casting Pyrokinesis, pitching a red spell on his Crom, and then casting the rest of my spells because I knew him going first, he'll just refill his grip up and allow me to win the game because him and every other player, their card draw was so low that they played at my level, which led to my win. Next is Rending Volley, very slept on card. I took out one of my other removal spells called Volcanic Spite for this one. I can tell you how good this is because I took out a piece of card draw on a mono red deck for this. Basically what this said is the most important part about this is it can't be countered by spells or abilities, and it does 4 damage to target white or blue creature. Once again, it kills the Crom, it kills the Grand Abolisher, it kills the Kennen, it kills the Aven Mind Sensor, it kills so many targets. Go into my primer, I promise you. Like let's just talk for a second because y'all need to understand like the application of this card is fucking broken. Let's go down to the instance. We are Rending Volley. Where's our Rending Volley at? Yes. So let's list them off. Kills Italian, kills a Thrasios, Malcolm, Winota, Kennen, Bonder Prodigy, Sisse Weatherlight Captain, as long as it's not pumped up too high, Grand Abolisher, Archon of Emeria, Aven Mind Sensor, Esper Sentinel, Gilded Drake, Notion Thief, and much more. Please do not sleep on this card. There's been so many times where a player has tried to slip some of the okie doke, and the fact that it's an uncounterable effect is just fucking busted. I kid you not. I'm just gonna be straight up with you. It's just fucking busted. So as we continue on, we have Shadow Scroll Smashing. Seldomly uses as a removal spell, but is just good to have an option to be able to do X damage to up to 2 different things. And if that damage is 6 or more, which seldomly happens, but it does at times, you basically do twice X damage as you choose among them instead. As we keep going, Spiteful Hazard, new inclusion, play testing a little bit over. I put this out over a basic mountain because I just wanted another instant sorcery and I just enjoy this. It's really like a pet card for me. It's just really fun, and I love having more spells that can increase the Rionya count if I want to go for more Stormwind. We have Starstorm being an instant speed board wipe. I think instant speed is king. Say it with me. Instant speed is king. Instant speed is king. Don't fall asleep on the instant speed potential of this deck. We have Sundial of the Infinite being an interaction spell for our turn to stop our opponents from doing in-step shenanigans during our turn, exiling all spells and abilities on the stack. We have Tar of Fire. Talked about it already. We have Thunderclap being another free interaction spell that is great when you're able to sacrifice a mountain. We have 13 in this deck. I know we're a monocolor deck. We probably should have more, but we're not, okay? But it does 3 damage to any creature. This is how you can easily kill the Dranith on your turn. You can literally go, all right, I'm going to tap Float Red on my Manta, cast Thundercap, kill the Dranith, cast Rionya, and I already have now 1 instant sorcery to go along with whatever creature's on board. We have Tabal's Trickery, counter spell. Please be cognizant about this spell. Let's talk about this for a second. It says counter target spell. Choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards. So you just roll a d6 and divide the number you get by 1, 2 being 1, 3, 4 being 2, and 5, 6 being 3. Then they exile cards from the top of their library until they exile a card with a different name than that spell. They may cast a spell without paying its mana cost. Then they put the exile cards on the bottom of their library in a random order. Big thing about this is if they don't decide not to cast it, it would just go on the bottom of their library. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's a Dranith out, you don't just exile the spell. Like it's exile, but at the last clause here says, then put the exile cards in the bottom of the library in random order. So it doesn't fully cover them, but they don't get a free spell. Talked about Twin Shot Sniper. We do have a Wild Magic Surge. Controversial, not really controversial, just part of the red mono red package. It is a way to destroy target permanent. So goodbye, Gaia's Cradle. Pop. An opponent controls, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a permanent card that shares a card type with that permanent. Be cognizant you don't hit a polymorph creature with this. Thrasios rocks, Thrasios Rock, and also Rock Tavesh. Be cognizant if you hit a polymorph deck, you will just polymorph them into their win con. They put that card into the battlefield and the rest of them to the bottom of their library. But we don't run Grafdigger's Cage. But the cool thing is, if our opponents have a Grafdigger's Cage out, Wild Magic Surge really gets the job done. And then we have Zora's Justice, this being able to hit the One Ring. I didn't really bring that up earlier, but that's my biggest sell on this. It hitting any creature of any size outside of mana value 1, and this also being able to hit the One Ring to shovel it back in, which is a staple in our meta. I would not be surprised that we eventually get up anywhere from 99 to 100% of cEDH running it, cEDH decks running it, even if they run like Null Rod and Oof effects. It's just such a powerful card. As we continue on, we have our Tutor package, and you say that's a lot of tutors for a mono red deck. Go with me, brother. All right. We got Gamble, of course. Just searches your library for a card, and then you have to basically discard a card at random. We have Goblin Engineer, we've already talked about, and Matron, and the Imperial Recruiter, all great tutors, and we've also brought up the Inventor's Fair. We haven't got to talk too much about the Power Fields. I've brought it up, but let's go a little deep. This basically says pay 2 and tap. We get to sacrifice a creature and search your library for a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrificed creature and has mana value equal to 1 plus that creature's mana value. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle, activate only as a sorcery. The main thing that I actually learned when I first joined the Rionya Discord, shout out to them, Faded, MTG, and all the other bros and sisters out there. Check the primer. You can actually find the link to the Discord down below. But this basically says that we sacrifice a 2-drop warrior or a 2-drop, either a 2-drop warrior or human, and tutor our combat celebrant onto the battlefield. That's the main use, but there are a lot of value plays that can actually be done with this by sacrificing our tokens created, because they do have the tokens created by Rionya have the mana value of that. So we're able to do a lot of spicy things along with that. We have Reckless Handling, not a super popular one in the Rionya community or just mono red in general, but because Pyre of Heroes is such a key and the One Ring is such a key tutor targets, having another gamble effect, even though it costs more mana and it does a little damage to our opponents if we discard an artifact, is just powerful. And actually it is a great card. Say if we have dead draw, to be able to go, I'm just going to cast Reckless Handling, find Power of Heroes, and then go for the win, is just really powerful. And of course we have Urza Saga as well. Lastly, we have our getting closer. Lastly, next we have value and synergy pieces. These are pieces that have their place to be like powerful cards on their own, and they have layers, but these are just great just because they're just good in our deck because they do what they do. Caves of Chaos Adventure, even if you're not storming off with this is such a great, just sit back and just go through the dungeon. It's such a great effect. I love this as a storm piece and actually just a value piece. Curse Mirror can be easily just to grab some extra value off copying your own or your opponent's creature. Glorious End, this being synergistic with our commander's ability to exile to keep all of the tokens created. Because of Rionya's ability, we can just keep all the tokens that created that turn as long as we exile the ability on the stack at the beginning of the end step. Harmonic Prodigy, don't use this as much because I'm less of a storm deck and more of an instant win combo deck. But the thing is to basically just remember that if it doubles the ability, so if you of Rionya, so now every time Rionya now will trigger twice. So if you cast 1 instant sorcery, Rionya will trigger twice. If you cast 2 instant sorceries, it will trigger now 4 times. If you cast 3 instant sorceries, now it will trigger 6 times. So a very great value piece with our commander. Manifold Keys, also great, where it basically being able to untap the One Ring, Sundial the Infinite, Pyre of Heroes, Mana Vault, Grim Monolith. Might I say more? Let's keep going. Sundial the Infinite, same reason with Glorious End, just being able to keep those creatures. If we want to go for a hard creature beat strategy, is super powerful because we seldomly attack with our commander because of the 5 mana cost. We can recast it, but we don't want to go too in the bag, having to use all our rituals all at once. As a Yours Justice, I brought up the value play, being able to just purely go, okay, I don't have any interaction. I'm going to just try to dig for a piece removal. I'm going to Yours Justice my tokens I just created this turn and try to cascade into something. Let's just see what happens. So really good. Now that we get to, I believe this is our last category, our win cons. Yay. Our win cons go as so. Aggravated Assault, I brought this up before. It combos with both Dockside Extortionist and also with our Port Raiser, allowing us to create. No, not Port Raiser. It combos with Dockside Extortionist and Professional Facebreaker, where if we generate 5 or more treasures, we can go infinite. And if we're making 6 or more treasures, we basically have infinite mana, plus we have infinite combats. And if we have Professional Facebreaker, we basically can exile our entire library and cast all the spells in our deck. Bloodthirster, one card combo piece with Rionya. Basically, if it deals combat damage to a player, we get to untap it, and after this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. And even though it can attack the player it's already attacked this turn, we basically, each new copy allows us to continue down the chain and go, okay, make a new copy, make a new copy, make a new copy, but this new copy can attack you even though I already attacked you this turn. We have Caves of Chaos Adventurer. This is the epitome of as a great storm piece and a value piece. I love this also because it's a 4-drop human, we can actually sacrifice it to Pyre of Heroes to put Lightning Runner onto the battlefield if we want to go down the line, if we can cast 2 instance or sorcery spells as well. But Busted Spell, if I have not read this, I don't think I have. It is basically trample. When Caves of Chaos Adventurer enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. Whenever Caves of Chaos Adventurer attacks, exile the top card of your library. If you've completed a dungeon, you may play that card this turn without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, you may play that card this turn. I'm not a huge fan of Impulsive that only allows you to use cards that turn, because it's similar to the Ob Nixilis effect, where it makes you feel like you have to take a game action, and I don't like being told I have to do anything. So being able to go, okay, like if I hit, like sometimes I will not attack with my Coca. That's what we call in the community Coca. I will not attack with Coca just because I just don't want to exile a good spell and either not be able to cast it or feel forced to cast it. Like if I exile a Combat Celebrant with 3 mana open, do I let it get exiled or do I just be patient? So just things to think about. The cool thing is, though, now that we are talking a little bit about Coca, the initiative actually allows you to navigate this pretty well. How the initiative works is, if we do here, it triggers on ETB of Coca and also at the beginning of each at the beginning of your upkeep, I believe. Yes, it triggers at the beginning of your upkeep as long as you have the initiative still, like as if you don't have not been hit yet. And so basically we have level 1. You search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and then put it to your hand to shuffle your library. Then we have option 1. You can either put 2+1/+1 counters. I don't ever use this, but I do like Lost Well, which lets you scry 2, which lets you know, do I want to attack with the haste version of Coca, or do I just want to sit back and just wait till my next turn? Next one is Trap. Target player loses 5 life. I never use this ability. I will sometimes use the go target creature for arena if I want to go to archives to draw a card before the last ability, but most times I would go into, if I want to hold up mana for interaction to my next turn, I'll go stash to get a treasure token, and then follow a turn after that I'll create a 4/1 black skeleton creature token with menace. And I'm gonna be honest, like, it's cool, you know what I'm saying? Never really used it that much, but it's menace, so creature beats is a thing. Last rung is really also the next layer of this combo piece. Not only do you unlock the ability to cast all the spells that you've exiled this turn for free, which I've won multiple turns by doing that so many times. Hitting an extra turn, or mainly even more extra combat spell with this, is just fucking broken. So let's just make that clear. But the cool thing about this is the ability says you reveal the top 10 cards of your library. Okay, put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it. It gains hexproof until your next turn. And so if now you attack with now the Coca, if you hit an extra turn, an extra combat spell, you basically can win the next turn, can win the next game. Not to mention, if you end your previous turn in the catacombs and you just at the beginning of your upkeep in your next turn hit Throne of the Dead 3, we basically, it's random, but we have a high probability because of the number of free one card combos we put in the battlefield, a hexproof win con, which is just goated. So that's the power of Coca. It's really good, really fucking good. With that being said, Charming Scoundrel is a win con. Oh, okay. So Charming Scoundrel actually combos with Aggravated Assault. With the third ability, create a Wicked Roll token attached to target creature you control. It basically allows you, the Wicked Roll basically says, when this enchantment goes to the graveyard, you are allowed to, each opponent loses 1 life. The powerful thing about this is because I tell every deck that you need to be able to win through the One Ring's protection. And because protection only talks about giving you protection from D, damage, E, equipping, enchanting, B, blocking, and T, targeting, this ability says that each opponent loses a life. I actually have had this happen in multiple games where it allows me to go, okay, I'm going to go Charming Scoundrel with infinitely with the Aggravated Assault by either casting 6 instant sorceries or going infinite with Dockside already or Professional Facebreaker, and then go getting Charming Scoundrel with Imperial Recruiter or however I want to get it in order to go infinite with making everybody lose life, which gets around the One Ring's protection. Goated. We've talked about it already. The main win con of this deck, or the most popular win con of this deck, Combat Celebrant, the one everybody knows about. Basically, if it hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it as it attacks. When you do, untap all other, so it is other creatures you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. So basically, it allows you to say, okay, I'm going to go to combat, have Rionya battlefield, cast Combat Celebrant. Go to combat, make a copy of Combat Celebrant, attack with it, exert it, untap each other creature, go to another combat. All right, now I have this untapped non-haste version and a copy version that's tapped. Go to the next combat though, and I'll make another copy and I'll be able to exert it, untapping the copy version, and continue to do that over and over and over and over until I go infinite. Dockside a win con of this deck, only with Aggravated Assault. I have a special relationship with Dockside, where I will many times go Dockside, make the treasures I need to ramp into holding up interaction and setting up a winning turn, and then I'll hold up removal for my own Dockside. People just love to clone it. It's so much better in everybody else's deck, so just be cognizant. That's my play pattern, but it is a thing just to be aware of. Dockside's a very good card. Next, we have Godo, Bandit Warlord. It says, when Godo Bandit Warlord enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Whenever Godo attacks the first time each turn, untap it, and all samurai you control. Samurai is unimportant. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase. Godo is the OG mono red deck. This is why this deck is called Godo's Baby Sis, because this deck is about understanding that the big brother to Rionya is Godo, being their OG original combat focused win con. So pay homage and respect it, but also let's get a little deeper. So first, of course, you are aware that Godo can win by itself if you have 11 mana, 10 colors, and 1 red. You can go get Helm of the Host, which basically states that at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy equipped, copy of equipped creature, except that token isn't legendary. Equipped creature is legendary. That token gains haste. Note, Helm of the Host does copy with Combat Celebrant and also Port Razor and also Bloodthirster does as well. So those are it's super magnetism, but also it's another way to do the do, and it's fun to. I've tried this. It doesn't work very well, but being able to make copies of Rionya it's a thing. I've done it. It doesn't do anything but make people look at you. But let's talk about Godo in this deck. Why do I run Godo? I believe I'm the first pilot to ever do this, but there's a lot of pilots who just don't really do it. I personally swear to it for many reasons. First reason, without Godo, our deck only wins with Rionya, and that gives our opponents a way to beat us. it basically tells them, okay, if I kill Rionya or if I stop them from casting Rionya with Draneth, they can't win the game until we open our eyes as Rionya pilots and be like, yo, if I add Godo to my deck, I can literally go turn 1 or turn 2 T-Ogre, Godo, and win the game. Which I actually had. I had a game where someone dropped a turn. I'm going player 4, and they topped the turn to play. They dropped the turn 2 Draneth and held no other interaction up because they said, well, we turn, like, all these other decks are commander focused decks. They can't win without their commander. And I literally went, okay, cute. Turn 2 gamble, discarded a combat celebrant. Everyone laughed, and then I went to my next turn, and when everybody was still tapped out again, literally went Treasonous Ogre. There's a resolve. I was like, yep. He can't. Well, at least he can't cast his commander. He may try to remove it. Godo. Table went silent. They was like, what the fuck? They was like, yeah, I'm gonna pay 33 life, and I'm going to cast Godo and equip Helm of the Host and win the game. I'm like, y'all thought this was amateur hour? You know, we went without our commander in these parts. So that is the coolest thing. That is one of the coolest things about it. Now the next layer, Godo is a one card combo with Rionya. How it works is you have Rionya in the battlefield. Same way if you had Bloodthirster. Same way if you had Rionya battlefield for setup for the Bloodthirster or Port Raiser or Combat Celebrant. How you do it is though you will have Rionya in the battlefield, go into your turn, cast Godo. When Godo, the original Godo ETBs, you're going to go get Hammer of Design and equip it to Rionya. Then you're going to go to combat. Rionya will trigger and target the original legendary Godo. You're going to make a hasty copy in the legendary rule. The state-based action of the legendary rule will go off. You're going to allow the original Godo to go to the bin, and you're going to have a Helm of the Host equipped to the copy version of Godo. So at this point, you have Rionya with Hammer of Design and a copy that has haste of Godo that has Helm of the Host equipped to it. Now, this is the most important part. You need an opponent that you can swing at and that won't die. The copy you just created won't die. And so then if you can hit somebody or even not have your commit and not have the Godo die, you attack and then the Godo trigger will go off untapping it. Now you'll go to the next combat and you'll have 2 triggers as you go infinite. You have the Helm of the Host trigger on the copy Godo and the Rionya trigger. And you stack them, so now Godo, the Helm of the Host will resolve and make a non-legendary Godo, and Rionya will resolve making a copy of the non-legendary Godo. Now, if you made it to this point, now they have to remove both Helm of the Host and Rionya to stop you from going infinite, because now you can make infinite non-legendary Godos and with both the Helm of the Host and Rionya. Really dope combo. So that's now the second way that we win with Godo in this deck. Now the third way we win, and there's also intricate stuff. You can read the primer, check the primer out. It is a lot of information, but it's really, really, really like my one of my first life's work, or however you want to call it. It was one of my biggest achievements to be able to fully describe this Rionya deck to its highest capability. But the third win line, and the reason why I think Godo is a mainstay in the Rionya deck, is that because of Pyre of Heroes. With Pyre of Heroes, it states that you sacrifice a creature and find a creature that has a mana value 1 larger and shares a creature type. The question then that you need to be asked is, what is Rionya? That looks like a 5-drop human wizard. Human. Big one. What is Godo? Godo, to me, call me crazy, Godo looks like a 6-drop human barbarian. Human. So you're saying to me, if I have Rionya on the battlefield and Pyre of Heroes, I can pay 2, sacrifice my commander, put Godo onto the battlefield, and then pay 5 more colors to equip Helm of the Host. And at that point, if I have Pyre and Rionya on the battlefield already, I have not casted any spells. So they have to have a spot removal spell to stop me. If they have counter magic, I have literally put no spells in the stack. Dude, I don't know what else to tell you. Now at this point, Godo has shown to now have 3 different lanes to go to, and if I have the knowledge and the experience, I can navigate either one of these paths to really get the job done. It's really crazy, and it's a powerful potential. And so it is actually, I've had a game where I presented 3 win attempts in one turn. I literally had Rionya Battlefield, I went Combat Celebrant, they stopped me, and then I cast an additional combat spell to try to win with Combat Celebrant again. They stopped me by removing Combat Celebrant, and then I had Pyre of Heroes already on board, and so then after that, I went to an extra turn effect, and then just went Godo, and after that, they was like, damn, I guess you got it. 3 winner tips across 2 back-to-back turns because of having the Godo line of the deck. And that's only possible because of that, just really taking the time to find that synergy. So for me, it's a mainstay. It will not go anywhere. We got EDH Senpai's question from earlier. No Godo question mark. Yes, Godo question mark. This is great. We have the Lightning Runner. This is actually an opportunity to talk about our alternative Imperial Recruiter line, another combo line I created for the Rionya community. How it works is you want to have Imperial Recruiter, and I will actually let's bring up the primer. This is our alternative Imperial Recruiter line, and here we go, backup combo line. So with Rionya on board, you're able to set up a next turn win using Imperial Recruiter. You need Rionya Fire Dancer on the battlefield and Imperial Recruiter in hand, 3 colorless and 2 red mana to set up on the setup turn, 3 colorless and 3 red on the winning turn. So first you want to cast Imperial Recruiter. Tutor Harmonic Prodigy into your hand, next cast Harmonic Prodigy, and then go to combat. You're going to trigger Rionya twice with Harmonic Prodigy's ability and make 2 copies of Imperial Recruiter. You want to tutor Lightning Runner and Ember Shield Breaker. Remember that creature is not just a fringe removal spell. It's we basically have Ember Shield Breaker as a tutorable sorcery to our hand. Finally, go to your next turn, cast the Lightning Runner and Ember Shield Breakers for the adventure cost, and go to combat. This will create 4 copies of Lightning Runner and from Rionya's triggered ability twice with Harmonic Prodigy, and you win the game. Basically by Lightning Runner stating you have to create 8 energy, so 2 energy from itself attacking and 6 energy from the other 3 copies attacking. And note, once again, this can be expedited to be done in 1 turn using one of the extra turn spells in this deck. Last Chance, Words Open, Final Fortune. So by using this, we can go au natural. We know now we can just basically, we can just cast 2 instant sorceries to win with Lightning Runner, but we also can use this alternative Lightning Runner line to basically just get the win with Lightning Runner in a very creative way. And I've already brought up as well how Caves of Chaos Adventurer is actually a way to Pyre of Heroes into Lightning Runner as well, if we already have 2 instant sorcery spells. Also, very lastly, I hinted at this, but I really didn't bring up, I brought this up, but Tarfire and Ember Shield Breaker. We brought these interactive spells up in our interaction package, and Twin Shot Sniper, but big one is Tarfire and Ember Shield Breaker are instance of sorcery spells that we can tutor out of our deck using our recruiter creatures. Okay, that is beyond powerful because our commander counts the number of instants and sorceries that we've casted in our pre-combat main phase. So being able to go, all right, I just need 1 instant sorcery to win, but I don't have enough card draw my color. I don't need to worry about that because I can tutor Ember Shield Breaker. I can tutor Tarfire to hand and have the number of instant sorceries needed to get the dub. So with that said, let's keep going. We're nearing the end. I'm having so much fun with y'all. We have the new win con, Mirror Style Master. I love it. Finally got my first win with it the other day. Mirror Style Master's win con is the only non-infinite combo in this deck. It's quite intricate, but it's very cool. Shout out to one of our community members for bringing this to our attention. It's very powerful. It is very good. Do not sleep on this win con. It's fucking crazy because it's a finite win con. So there's 2 ways to go about it. I'm gonna break down the first one. You want to have a base board state of Rionya Fire Dancer and Mirror Style Master, and any other non-summoning sick creature optional, assuming Rionya isn't summoning sick. and your Rionya storm count needs to be 1. Okay, so you want scenario 1 is Mirror Style Master straight damage. Okay, so it's Mirror Style Master enters. You want to back up Rionya Fire Dancer slash another creature, another non-summon sickness creature. Next, cast the instant sorcery, then go to combat, where your Fire Dancer makes 2 more Mirror Style Masters and they back up each other. Attack with all that can attack, and you'll get 5 Mirror Style Masters, 2 from each Mirror Style Master and 1 from Rionya Fire Dancer. Other non-summoning sick creatures or another summoning sick creature. Okay, the big thing to remember is that Mirror Style Master has backup itself, but it basically, and it says whenever the creature attacks, for each attacking creature, each modified creature that attacks that you control, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature. Exile them at the end of combat. So, with that being said, not only is this a great synergistic piece, it allows you to, if you keep reading, it's the first Mirror Style Master triggers makes 2 Mirror Style Masters and plus 1 other Mirror Style Master backs up each other. You have now 4 attacking Mirror Style Masters, and then you go to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 64, allowing you to do a total of 260 damage, assuming you didn't have another creature and all the Rionya Fire Dancer copies died to the legendary rule. You can do this with other creatures as well to make other copies of other creatures if you want to get values. You can tutor all your creatures out with Imperial Recruiter and all the other fun stuff. And the last scenario is similar to the Godo combo with Power of Heroes, where because Mirror Style Master is a 6-drop human, we basically can go, okay, sack our commander. We have to have another creature on the battlefield, our commander, another creature without summoning sickness, our commander, and Power of Heroes. We can sack our commander to Power of Heroes, put Mirror Style Master into the battlefield, back up the extra creature, recast Rionya, and then move like that. And just similar to the Godo combo, present another win con from the command zone using Power of Heroes. We're nearing the end, y'all. Thank you for sitting tight. We are nearing the end, but we have to go deep. We have a couple more win cons. We have Port Razor, very similar to Bloodthirster, but this one will untap each other creature, similar to Combat Celebrant. This is not like Bloodthirster, it untaps each other creature. So that's a thing to remember in case you're in a situation where similar to Hybrid with Combat Celebrant. If you can go to an extra turn effect, this will allow you to win, or you can untap it with like a Seize the Day. This will allow you to win through a Blind Obedience, which is very important. Professional Facebreaker combos with our Aggravated Assault. We have Twin Shot Sniper. If we are, for whatever reason, unable to do combat damage because someone has fogged us, we can make infinite copies. If we have Professional Facebreaker or Dockside Aggravated Assault set up, we can make infinite treasures and then win with Twin Shot Sniper. And be able to win with Twin Shot Sniper by having infinite ETBs do infinite targeted damage. But granted, because this target, we cannot win through the One Ring. And the last, I have Urza Saga here. This is a bit of a, like, I used to do it more, but I really don't do it that much anymore. Dockside, Extortionist, and Urza Sagas, the tokens that you create, you can make copies of the art of these construct tokens from the second chapter ability and hit people for fucking major damage. I literally had a turn where it was back in the day where we were going against, it was the 3-mana Turbo Adnaz deck. It's a colorless commander, but it's 5 colors. 5 color cEDH commanders. What is it called? Let's see. Where is it at? It is a 5-color cEDH commander. But it's colorless though. But its color identity is 5 colors. Where's that? It's the one that basically says you can't cast permanents. All right. Can't cast permanents. Where is it at? If I can find it, that would be so dope. Right, guys? Let's see. Wouldn't it be cool if we can find it really fast? We're almost there. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Cody. There we go. It was on the tip of my tongue. So basically, I was going against a Cody player. I was seat 2. Cody was seat 3. And basically using Dockside and the second ability of Urza Saga, I was able to do 17 damage. I was able to go from 1 power on board to 17 damage on turn 2. Because that was the most I could do. I basically made hella construct copies and hasty and swung at him, and his ad-nos was deplorable. And he ended up losing that game. I ended up winning. He actually took the whole game down, but it was very much like just I can't win the game, but I can do damage to keep the game going. So with that being said, that is our deep dive. I want to bring up some notable playtests that are in the deck, but are currently that were in the deck recently, but I recently took them out. Starting with Dwarven Ruins. I love this land. I just did not want to have 4 tap lands in my deck, and I just never really liked Dwarven Ruins that much. Just never felt good personally, and I run another Snow Covered Mountain in this place. Like I brought up, I'm running Torch Courier currently over Crimson Wisp, just playing around about having a tutorable Haste Enabler effect with Imperial Recruiter and Goblin Matron. Next, we have Spikeful Hazard, Claim the Firstborn, and Overmaster. All really, really dope effects that I basically say, okay, they all do very good things. Losing Overmaster sucked because it was losing another piece of card draw plus protection for an instant sorcery we want to cast. But because we're not really a Storm deck, I tried out Claim the Firstborn just to try it, but ended up adding Spikefield Hazard in its place, because for a time I went down to 26 lands and I was like, nah, I gotta add a land back. So I got to have it's my fun card, Spikefield Hazard. You can add a mountain in this place, it's not a problem. Next is Command Beacon over a snow covered mountain. Getting my red pips is down hurt, but at the same time, I've had a game where literally I couldn't remove a Dranith because my opponents were all gonna win if I remove the Dranith, but I needed the Dranith to go to win, and so being able to Command Beacon at end step to get my commander and present a win is just powerful. Man, I have a Manifold Key currently. I tried Brass's Tunnel Grinder because I don't run Underworld Breach because it's a bit of a dead card in my play style and my version of Rionya. I basically went, okay, I really want to mess with this, but at the end of the day, I can't because it's just not it. It's just not. And I end up originally taking out a Snow Cover Mountain. This is when I went down to 26 lands, and it didn't feel good. It worked. The deck worked. It just never felt good. So what did I end up doing is I added Brad's Tunnel Grinder because I had the land on the back that could flip it, but I wasn't happy with just losing the cards for random cards. So I added the Manifold Key, and it just was like water. It was the perfect thing I needed to be able to synergize with the One Ring, with Pyre of Heroes. I've been wanting to add it for a while, and I actually did Manifold Key over Voltaic Key because say if someone has a copy artifact or any other thing that can copy it, Voltaic Key is a combo piece in a lot of decks because it can untap itself, where Manifold Key is a lot harder to combo with. So since we don't need that, plus the being able to make our own creature unblockable is a powerful effect because we are very much a combo deck. It's really powerful. So in the last one, this is pretty much a mainstay at this point. Zoyora's Justice over a Braid. Losing the staple really didn't hurt. I love Zoyora's Justice, and it's basically a 2-mana Chaos Warp, which I love. So with that said, check the deck out if you love it. If you don't love it, let me know. Just let me know how you feel about Red Mono Red. But we're gonna move into some gameplay right now, and if you've been with us, shout out to everyone in the chat, shout out to everybody on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure to hit that ring the bell so you can get notifications, because we are posting twice a week. Not to mention, we also have on our Twitch. Make sure you're following, and if you're looking for other ways to support, you can buy me a coffee. Keeps the lights going and keeps us doing what we want to do. Next, if you also want to get into our premium access for our Discord community, we have the open field where you can comment and have fun. But if you want the premium Discord, join us on Patreon. That allows you to get premium access to talk, deep dives on music, deep dives on Magic, get some pickup games, maybe do some music as well. And it's really just another way to get to know me at a deeper level. And last way is with our ThunderConductor premium paperback proxies, another great way to support the channel. With that being said, we're going to take a small break, but check us out when we get into our live gameplay. Peace.